Joseph, BHP Billiton, the big Anglo-Australian miner, has confirmed today that it's thinking of demerging some of its assets. So tell us a bit more about what this might involve and what will be split from the rest of the business.
I mean, we've been looking at this for quite some time. It's the first thing to note. And BHP Billiton itself is a behemoth. It mines iron ore, copper, coking and thermal coal. It has petroleum assets and this option on potash far into the future. They haven't developed it yet, which can be, as you would imagine, quite hard to manage. And so aluminium, nickel, manganese, these barely make money under BHP management control. And I would guess this is the selection of assets which BHP said today it would prefer to demerge.
And so what will be left in the core BHP afterwards?
I mean, iron ore and oil, which are almost sort of 4/5 of earnings, which is fine. It would also be, interestingly, almost entirely based in the OECD, which is, you don't see that every day for a resources major. In particular one involved in oil. Most of BHP's petroleum assets are in the US.
And how would they structure this deal? Because as it is, the company has a reasonably complex corporate structure.
Yes, I mean, it has listings both in Sydney and in London. And so you can buy shares in the PLC in London or the Limited in Australia. Now, most of the non-core assets appear to be limited assets. And so if they were going to create a third listing to house these non-core assets, it would be a fairly large company. Citi estimates between $15 billion and $23 billion, depending if you add a bit more coal to that portfolio. So that would be quite large and investable if you like those nickel, manganese, aluminium exposures and so on. But then for the limited shareholders and the PLC shareholders left behind, or just going into creating this spin-off, what should they get? Should they get shares, or should they ask for cash up front? Because after all, you don't really know the future of this non-core business, whether it's going to be growth or how much cash is going to come out.
And what would BHP Billiton hope to achieve by doing all this? What's the major thought in its mind behind the demerger?
Well, we began by noting that BHP is a behemoth, and you can see that in its market capitalisation, which is about $190 billion. So that makes it the world's largest miner. Even so, that is a discount to most analyst models of its net present value, which are rather big, sometimes up to $230 billion. So the market is punishing BHP for being a conglomerate, at least in trying to manage these non-core assets. One thing to look out for when they do potentially announce this demerger is whether the market will remove that discount. Because if it doesn't, it's implying that this iron ore, copper, oil and so on entity also has some sort of management work needed doing to it.
Well, we're waiting more details on this mining demerger. Joseph, thanks very much.